Hello and welcome to HP Gaming Garage. I am Professor Raja Ravichandra Prasad, Game Director at Artemisia College of Art and Design. The 10th module of game programming is Game Mechanics, Part 1, which is about player mechanics. By now, we are aware that player mechanics is a vital element of game design. From movement and input to physics and interactions, these mechanics govern the player's engagement with the game. So in this module, we will be exploring some of the most common player mechanics in Unity and how it can take the game to the next level. To explain this in detail, I have Shreyams.
Thank you, Professor. Hello everyone, I am Shreyams and we will be discussing the module Game Mechanics Part 1, curated by Professor Raja. Let's start by understanding player movement. Understanding player movement is crucial for creating immersive game experiences that captivate the audience. In Unity, player movement is all about controlling the position and velocity of the character in response to user input, physics, simulations, or scripted behaviors like walking, running, jumping, flying, and crouching. The possibilities are endless. With the mastery of player movement, the developer will have the power to create captivating and engaging games. There are various ways to implement player movements in Unity, depending on the game's desired gameplay mechanics and visual aesthetics. Here are some common approaches. The built-in character controller component in Unity simplifies movement simulation by providing a physics-based system that allows player to walk, run, and jump with ease without the need of rigid bodies or physics simulations. Whether you're creating a third-person or 2.5D game, the character controller can be controlled using input from the keyboard, mouse, or controller. By attaching the rigid body component to the game objects, the developer can simulate physics-based movements like never before. Collisions and forces will be recreated with such accuracy that the players will feel as if they are in the game. The developer can achieve smooth and seamless player movements by applying different forces or changing the velocity of the rigid body. So whether you're creating a platformer, racing game, or physics-based puzzle, rigid body based movement is the key to making the game stand out. This powerful feature allows the developer to effortlessly modify the position, rotation, and scale of the game objects. With the transform.translate method, one can easily move the player in response to various game logics and inputs. Plus, this approach is perfect for games where physics simulations or complex interactions are not required. With Unity's animation system, the developer now has the power to bring the character to life with customized animations for everything from walking to jumping. By triggering these animations through input or game logic, they will not only visually enhance the character's appearances, but also impact its movements. Now let's recap what we have learned about player movement. Player movement in Unity involves controlling the position of the player character in response to user input, physics simulations, or scripted behaviors. It can include basic actions like walking, running, jumping, flying, crouching, and climbing. Unity's built-in character controller component simulates simple physics-based movement, including walking, running, and jumping without rigid bodies or physics simulations. Unity's rigid body component is used for physics-based movement and can simulate realistic physics interactions such as collisions and forces, making it suitable for more complex physics interactions in games. Using the transform component's translate method, one can manually move the player character by changing its position based on the input or other game logic. Player movement can also be achieved through animation movements like walking, running, jumping, and more. One can then trigger these animations based on input or game logic. Enhancing your game with player health and damage can truly take the gaming experience to the next level. By monitoring the player's health, applying damage, and skillfully managing the player's exit, the developer can create a thrilling and authentic gameplay environment. One can unleash the full potential and dominate the gameplay by implementing player abilities and cooldowns. This will add excitement to the game, prevent spamming, and add an extra level of strategy to the gameplay. With character customization, one has the opportunity to tailor a character's appearance, abilities, and attributes to their exact liking. Imagine the possibilities of creating a fully customizable 3D character model with modular parts. Texture maps and UV coordinates give you endless opportunities to experiment with different colors, patterns, and textures. Animations for every imaginable move and a specially designed user interface can easily control every aspect of the character's appearance and attributes. Time for a quick recap of player features. Implementing player health and damage involves tracking the player's health and applying damage. Implementing player abilities and cooldowns involves the player using special abilities or skills during a fight which is subject to cooldowns. Character customization in games allows players to modify the appearance, abilities, and other attributes of their in-game character. Customization can be achieved creating 3D character models with modular parts and texture maps with different colors and patterns. Let's move on to the next topic of interaction mechanics. Imagine being fully immersed in a game world where you have complete control over interactions. That is the power of player interaction mechanics in game development. With this feature, the developer can navigate through the game, interact with objects, communicate with characters, and fully engage in gameplay mechanics that the developer has carefully crafted. Let's begin by understanding object interaction. With object interaction, the player has the power to pick up, move, rotate, and interact with objects, trigger events, and actions that enhance the gaming experience. In this example, the player will interact with items in the game world, such as picking up a health potion or an object. When the player interacts with an item, there is a pickup sound, then the object is added to the player's inventory and finally demolishes the game object. A truly immersive gaming experience requires more than just good graphics and compelling storylines. It needs an intuitive and highly responsive user interface and controls that allows players to seamlessly navigate through the game world, interact with a variety of in-game elements, and ultimately achieve their goals. Let's have a look at a quick recap on interaction mechanics. In game development, player interaction mechanics refers to the ways in which players interact with the game world and its elements, such as objects and characters. These specific mechanics vary depending on the game genre and desired gameplay mechanics. Object interaction allows players to interact with objects in the game world, such as picking, moving, rotating, or interacting with objects that can trigger events or actions. Designing intuitive and responsive UI and controls allows players to easily interact with the game world, objects, characters, and other game elements. Let's now move on and discuss resource management. Resource management allows players to strategically make decisions and progress in the game. Whether it's health, mana, or energy, the ability to efficiently manage limited or renewable resources could make all the difference. In this example, the script manages the player's health as a resource. The player will have a maximum health value and a current health value which is displayed on the health bar UI image. The script includes methods to note damage, recover health, and update the health bar UI accordingly. When the player's health reaches 0 or below, the game over method is called to handle game over logic. Time for a quick recap of resource management. Resource management is the process of managing limited or renewable resources such as health, mana, or energy to make strategic decisions and progress in the game. It is an essential aspect of many games, including those built with Unity game engine. Now let's discuss the next topic, player progression. With player progression, you can level up, earn experience points, and unlock new abilities and equipment as you play. It's not just about making the game more enjoyable, but it also adds a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. This mechanic requires careful planning and balancing. In this example, the script manages the player's progression as they gain experience points. The player has a current level, experience points, and maximum experience points required to level up. The script includes a method to gain experience points which adds to the current experience points. When the experience points reach or exceed the maximum experience points, the level up method is called to increase the player's level and update stats such as health, attack, and defense. Let's have a quick recap on player progression. Player progression is a game mechanic where players level up, gain experience points, unlock new abilities, or acquire better equipment as they progress throughout the game. This mechanic involves creating experience systems, level design, character progression, and balancing progression mechanics for pacing and player engagement. Let's move on to discuss the next topic, player feedback. Player feedback is key to keep the audience engaged and informed about the state of the game and their actions. With Unity, there are numerous ways to incorporate player feedback into the games, allowing players to fully understand game mechanics and make informed decisions. Some examples are: visual feedback includes elements like animations, particle effects, UI elements, and on-screen messages that provide visual cues to players about their actions or the state of the game. For example, you can display a health bar to show the player's current health, highlight interactive objects with glowing effects, or display score pop-ups when players achieve a goal. Audio feedback involves the use of sound effects or background music to provide auditory cues to players. For example, you can play a sound effect when the player collects an item, use different sound effects for successful or unsuccessful actions, or play music that reflects the mood or intensity of the gameplay. Textual feedback includes using on-screen messages, dialogues, or text-based prompts to provide information or instructions to players. For example, you can display a text message when the player completes a quest, show instructions on how to perform a certain action, or provide feedback on outcome of decision. Time for a quick recap of player feedback. Player feedback is essential in game development to inform players about the state of the game and their actions. Visual feedback uses animations, particle effects, UI elements, and on-screen messages to provide visual cues to players. Audio feedback uses sound effects or background music to provide auditory cues to players. Haptic feedback provides physical feedback to players through controllers or devices that have a vibration or force feedback features. Textual feedback uses on-screen messages, dialogues, or text-based prompts to provide information or instruction to players. Let's discuss the next topic, player behavior analytics. By incorporating player behavior analytics into game development strategy, the developer can gain invaluable insights into a player's motivation, preferences, and engagement levels. By understanding the player's behavior and decision-making patterns, one can optimize the game design, refine mechanics, and ultimately increase player retention. Here are a few examples of how player analytics can be implemented in Unity games using Unity Analytics, which is a built-in analytics tool. Unity Analytics allows the developer to unlock a wealth of valuable insights into players' progress. Activities like tracking how many levels the player completed, time spent in each level, number of opponents conquered, and items collected during the game. By tracking player decision making in the game, such as dialogue choices, branching storylines, or player selected paths, the developer can gain invaluable insight into player preferences and decision-making patterns. This data can be a powerful tool to better understand how your player engages with game, allowing you to optimize the experience and make it even more enjoyable. By tracking key player engagement metrics like session duration, frequency of player, and player retention rates, the developer can gain valuable insight into the player's habits and behaviors. This knowledge is essential to ensure maximum engagement and prevent drop-off points in the future. By actively tracking player feedback, reviews, and ratings, the developer will gain invaluable insight into player sentiment, preferences, and suggestions. Utilizing this data can make the developer make informed decisions about game mechanics, features, and content updates. With in-game purchases, the developer can unlock an incredible level of insight into players' spending habits. By tracking their purchase, the developer can identify what type of items are most popular, how often transactions are made, and how much revenue is generated, allowing you to craft the most effective in-app purchase strategies. By understanding player social behavior and engagement, the developer can create an even more immersive multiplayer experience, like encouraging friend invitations on social media. By tracking player progression and achievements, like unlocking new levels, completing challenges, or earning achievements, the developer can gain invaluable insight on how engaged the players are with the game content. This will help develop effective strategies to ensure successful player retention. Time for a quick recap on player behavior analytics. Player behavior analytics involves analyzing data on how players interact with the game, make decisions, and engage with mechanics. Tracking player activity can track various players' activity such as number of levels completed, time spent in each level, number of enemies defeated, items collected, etc. With tracking player decision making, you can track player decision making points in the game like dialogue choices, branching storylines, or player selected paths. With tracking player engagement, you can track player engagement metrics such as session duration, frequency of play, or player retention rates. With tracking player feedback, you can collect and analyze player feedback, reviews, or ratings to understand player sentiments, preferences, and suggestions. If your game has in-app purchases, you can track player purchases such as type of item purchased, frequency, and revenue generated. With tracking player social interactions, you will be able to understand players' social behavior and engagement with social features. With tracking player progression and achievements, you can track players' progression and achievements like unlocking new levels, completing new challenges, and earning achievements.
Thank you, Shriyams, for the detailed walkthrough of the module. With this, we have come to the end of the 10th module and I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for your HP Learning Assessment so that you can be certified and start your career in game development. Thank you for joining us.